As the revolutionary protests in France continue over Macron's decision to force the retirement age from 62 to 64, Macron was levied with a no confidence vote. Unfortunately, he's sticking around. Check out this headline. Macron's government hangs on to power after no confidence votes. A bill to increase the French national retirement age to 64 from 62 now becomes law, but opponents vowed to continue their fight amid widespread fury against President Emmanuel Macron. The motion received 278 votes, 9 short of the 287 needed to pass. The close result reflected widespread anger at the overhaul to the pension law at Mr. Macron for his apparent aloofness and at the way the measure was rammed through the parliament last week without a full vote on the bill itself. A second no confidence motion filed by the far right National Rally failed on Monday as well, with only 94 lawmakers voting in favor. Well, John, in some ways, this man has lived to monk up another day.
Yeah, as people pointed out, this is sort of like a dark mirror version of some of the willful choices that he and his people, his administration made in the first term, and the reaction that they got was very justified. And now they're experiencing it again. One could say that like they haven't learned any lessons, but I guess they've learned some. They've learned that, in theory, if they just don't give a damn and if they just hold strong, there's not necessarily accountability for that. You can get close or whatever, but close doesn't stop people from having to grind out a couple more years of labor before they get the retirement that should be their due. People were already furious about this. What is it, about to hit the 7th day of protests, I think, just about. I have a feeling that this failure of the 2 votes has probably thrown fuel on that fire. It is just, look, it's obviously a complex issue that involves a lot of different potential changes, but it's easiest, and I think it makes sense to focus on the change of the retirement age, particularly as we in America are facing the possibility that they're gonna try to do that right here. That is like every worker being thrown a prison term. Like, oh, you had this fantasy of someday being able to release the weight from your shoulders and live an actual life with your friends, with your family, pursuing your actual interests, and not just grinding out labor, to benefit the uber wealthy. To have 2 more years added onto that, like if anything is gonna send you out into the streets, that had better be the thing that does it. And so I draw at least a little bit of inspiration from those who are protesting right now. I don't begrudge them the task of trying to reverse this. It's a very difficult thing to do, but just devastating that they're pushing ahead with this when they know how unpopular it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the people spoke, John, and they spoke loudly. They can't even pretend like they didn't hear them. It wasn't a whisper. The people of France were very clear about what they wanted. And in order to pull this off, Macron had to use the Constitution to do it. He couldn't even really pull that off through the parliament. He had to go Constitution-like and use it against the people. And the protest, as you laid out, the protest in France over Macron's decision is continuing, and God bless them, because I hope we take it to the streets here in this country too. And it has drawn millions of citizens across many sectors, and it won't slow down anytime soon. The protests and anger across France seems unlikely to abate in the weeks ahead. They appeared certain to mark Mr. Macron's 2nd term, just as the yellow vest protest moment marked his first. Behind both movements lurks a resentment of the president's perceived elitism, compounding anger at the specific measures that sparked the protest. Indeed, y'all stay angry, baby, and make it work for you, because the man got another election is coming up, right? So make them feel it at the ballot box.